welcome to a new vlog and trip report. Today we're traveling with a very interesting train on two very special railway lines. We are going with a Westbahn SMILE from Villach to Vienna, and here on the map you can see the route. Today we're taking a closer look at the route. In the animation we're starting at the main station of Villach on the Drava Valley Railway with stops in Perchach am Wörthersee and Klagenfurt main station. And then we are reaching the Koralm Railway, which is a brand new high-speed railway line. We have a stop in Künsdorf-Klopeinersee. Then we're going through one of the longest railway tunnels in the world to Graz main station, our next stop. And then we're continuing on the Southern Railway from Graz with a stop in Bruck an der Mur to Semmering. And then we are using the Semmering Railway, which is part of the UNESCO World Heritage since 1998. And it was also the first mountain railway in Europe with a standard gauge track. So it is a very spectacular railway line, which we're going to see in this video. After that we are then continuing on with stops in Wiener Neustadt, and then we are reaching the Pottendorf line, which will then bring us to Vienna Meidling, and then finally on to our final destination, Vienna main station. Here we can see the whole route, which is around 381 kilometers long. After my break in the last video, we are here now back at the main station of Villach, and here we can see my train today, the Stadler SMILE of Westbahn. Westbahn only has 3 of these trains chartered by Stadler Rail for their new line between Villach and Vienna. They have to charter these trains because they cannot use their double-decker trains as they are too high for the Semmering Railway. So they're using these trains, and we can now take a look at the interior of them. And directly when you enter the train, you can clearly see that those trains look very familiar. They look a lot like the trains of the SBB, the Stadler Giruno. That's because it's basically the same train. And most probably, when the Westbahn doesn't need them anymore, they will operate for the SBB as well. You can also see that it is a train without barriers, with a low-level entrance, so it is an accessible train. And it comes in 3 classes. In the beginning we have seen the standard class in the 2+2 configuration. Here we can see the comfort class in a 2+1 configuration, which is first class with the SBB. And now we're getting into first class of the Westbahn. As you can see, it looks almost the same, but it has bigger tables. With the SBB, this is the business zone, and here with the Westbahn, it is the first class section. So if you want to work on a laptop, I would recommend first class. If you're just looking for a more comfortable seat, comfort class is enough, as it is the same seat. But there are a few differences. We can take a look at the features. We have a small table on the side. We have movable armrests. The seat, of course, is adjustable, but the downside is this a table. As you can see, it is extremely small, could have been much bigger. It is too small for a big laptop. So working on this table is quite a challenge. You can use the small table next to it, but it only works on this specific seat where they're on the same level. That doesn't work on all tables. But otherwise the train is very nice. The seats are comfortable, adjustable. We have a lot of power sockets, movable armrests, reading lights, and also sunlights. Downside of the adjustable seats is you can adjust them with the weight of your body, not with a lever. So that also means if you're moving a bit too much on your seat, you can also adjust the seat by accident. But in general, it is a very nice train. In the meantime, we have left Villach and we're now on the Drava Valley Railway. This railway line is following the lake Wörthersee, and as you can see, is a beautiful lake with turquoise water. Almost feels like somewhere in the Caribbean. And as there were temperatures of around 30 degrees, I was tempted to leave the train and have a swim on the lake. But it's worth staying on the train as we are now approaching one of the newest railway lines in Europe. Here we are at Klagenfurt main station, and now we're continuing on the Drava railway line, but that's also at the same time the Koralm Railway. In some parts the Drava Valley railway line has just been refurbished, but in other parts it has been completely rebuilt, as it is now part of the Koralm Railway, which is a high-speed line connecting Klagenfurt and Graz, opened only in December 2025. Our first stop here is in Künsdorf-Klopeinersee. This is also our only stop on the high-speed line, which unfortunately does not offer the most beautiful views. That's quite typical for Austria. There are a lot of noise barriers also blocking the view, of course, not only the noises but also the view. Here we are for example, crossing a river, but we cannot see the river. So it is not the most spectacular railway line when it comes to views, but of course it's quite interesting as it is a brand new railway line with quite high speeds. Up to 250 kilometers per hour is possible on this railway line. We are now approaching our stop at Künstdorf-Klopeinersee, then we're continuing on to Graz, and on our way there we can listen to the sound of the Stadler SMILE of the Westbahn going at full speed with up to 250 kilometers per hour. And we are also getting closer to the highlight of the whole railway line, which is one of the longest tunnels in Europe. So here we've heard the sound of this train. In the meantime, we went past Midland, where the Drava Valley Railway line left us. We're going then on to St. Paul im Lavantal, where the Koralm Railway line is replacing the Jaun Valley Railway. And in St. Paul im Lavantal, then the Lavant Valley Railway line to Wolfsberg is branching off. And after St. Paul im Lavantal, we are then reaching the Koralm Tunnel. The Koralm Tunnel is 32.9 kilometers long. It's Austria's longest railway tunnel, and it's the 6th longest railway tunnel in the world. It was also only opened in December 2025. Works already begun in 2008 and continued on to 2025. And the use of this tunnel is to reduce the traveling time between Klagenfurt and Graz from around 3 hours to only 40 minutes. It of course also shortens the traveling time between Villach and Klagenfurt to Vienna significantly. That's the main reason for the tunnel. After the tunnel, our next connection with the regular railway line is at the station Weststeiermark, and just a few minutes later we're meeting a railway line again at Wettmannstetten, and then we're slowly heading in the direction of Graz. And quite interestingly, there is a tunnel running almost directly under the terminal of the airport of Graz, but there's no station. That's quite strange. I mean, I think there should have been a station that is connecting the airport of Graz with the long distance trains, but you still have to use the regular station of the airport called Flughafen Graz Feldkirchen, and from there you can take a regional train to the main station of Graz and change there for the long distance trains. Here we are going through Puntigam, part of the city of Graz, where you also have a connection to the tram of Graz, and then we are reaching the main station of Graz, where we stayed for quite a while, which was unplanned. Here we can see a Stadler GTW of the Graz-Köflacher Eisenbahn. This train was changing directions here in Graz and still left before us, so we stayed there for quite a while. There was no information about why we stayed this long, but in the end we left with a bit of a delay. There was also another interesting train, which we can see when we're leaving the station, a Stadler Flood from Slovenia. Could be also interesting for a future video. As you can see, the train was pretty busy. We are heading in the other direction. This train is going to Maribor. We're going in the other direction on the so-called Southern Railway, which will now bring us in the direction of Bruck an der Mur. As you can see, I've changed the sides. I was sitting on the left side, but I went to get a coffee, was walking through the train for just around 2 minutes, and when I came back, the person sitting in front of me lowered the sun blinds. So this person was waiting until I left, so I cannot complain, because this person knew I was looking out of the window constantly. So he waited until I left and then he lowered the sun blinds. I did not complain, I just moved to the other side as there was an empty seat, which was a good decision in the end. Here we are at the station Mixnitz-Bärenschützklamm. There you usually have a connection to a narrow gauge railway line, which is basically only a freight railway line, but every now and then there are also some touristic trains on this line, but there's no traffic in this season as the station of Mixnitz-Bärenschitzklamm is currently under construction. We're now approaching the station Bruck an der Mur. And then we are gaining some altitude as we are now slowly approaching the highlight of this journey. We are reaching the Semmering Railway line. Here we are in Mürzzuschlag, and here the Semmering Railway is starting. As I've mentioned, part of the UNESCO World Heritage, the first standard gauge mountain railway in Europe, and currently the only connection between Graz and Vienna, so also the long distance trains have to use this railway line. But as you can see, there are some constructions, and this is the construction of the Semmering Base Tunnel, which will be a 27.3 kilometer long tunnel completely bypassing the Semmering Railway. Will open at the end of 2029 most probably, and then the long distance trains will take this tunnel, and then unfortunately you're gonna miss the most beautiful part of the whole journey. But of course it will be much faster as we're now going through countless tunnels, viaducts, curves and bridges. So it is very beautiful, but of course we're going pretty slow. We're now approaching the Semmering Tunnel, which is around 1.5 kilometers long, and in this tunnel we're reaching the summit at 898 meters. Here we are in the station of Semmering, our next stop, at 896 meters, so we're already losing altitude again, and we're now going down all the way to around 268 meters at Wiener Neustadt. But this journey is now extremely spectacular. As I said, there are countless viaducts, bridges, tunnels, curves, beautiful views, so it is a very beautiful railway line, and not without a reason. It is voted as one of the most beautiful railway lines in Europe. Whenever you read an article about the most beautiful railway lines in the world, this railway line is always part of it, and I think you can clearly see why. Here we are at the highlight. That's the Kalte Rinne Viaduct, unfortunately currently under construction, but still beautiful to see, and I think you can clearly imagine how beautiful it is once the constructions are finished. So as I said, at the end of 2029 the Semmering Base Tunnel is set to be opened, and from then on the long distance trains will use the tunnel, and you cannot see this beautiful landscape from the window of a long distance train. But luckily the railway line will remain in service, and there will be still some regional trains on the Semmering Railway. But if you want to see it from the window of a comfortable long distance train, I would recommend doing it in the next 3 years. Also, my train today is very comfortable, so it was a very nice journey going through this beautiful landscape. And as I mentioned, I've changed the sides to the right side, and that was a very good decision because you have the most beautiful views on the right side. So if you're going from Graz to Vienna, sit on the right side, and if you're going from Vienna to Graz, make sure to sit on the left side. And I will now let you enjoy the last minutes of this beautiful passage of the Semmering Railway. Here you can see some constructions, and you can also see the entrance to the Semmering Base Tunnel in the background. So this huge construction site here is all for the construction of the Semmering Base Tunnel. We're now in Löcknitz, and from now on we're still losing altitude to get down to Wiener Neustadt, but it's less spectacular as we are reaching the Vienna Basin, which is a very flat landscape, so much less spectacular than what we have just seen a few minutes ago. Because the Semmering Railway is for sure one of the most spectacular railway lines in the world, constructed already in 1854, planned by Carl von Geger as the first mountain railway in standard gauge in Europe, and since 1998 part of the UNESCO World Heritage, and also considered as a milestone in the history of railways. In the meantime, we've reached Wiener Neustadt, and we're now continuing on to Vienna using the Pottendorf line. It's not the direct way between Wiener Neustadt and Vienna, but that's due to the availability of tracks. It's planned that the trains of the Westbahn are using the Pottendorf line. It's not a very spectacular line, also a lot of constructions here at the moment on this line, especially around Ebenfurt. Here we're passing the new station, which is currently under construction, and then there are some more constructions in and around Ebenfurt, but we're going through all those stations without stopping. Our next stop will be at Vienna Meidling. But I'm continuing on to Vienna main station, even though I have to go to Vienna Westbahnhof or West Station for my next video, and I have a hotel there, but still I decided I want to do the whole journey, so I will not leave the train 5 minutes earlier in Vienna Meidling just to save a few minutes, but instead I want to make the whole journey until Vienna main station. Also, my next video will be very interesting. It will not be an interesting railway line, as we're traveling back to Salzburg on the Westbahn, which is the same name like this railway company, means Western Railway, and we will be also traveling with the Westbahn again, but this time with another interesting train. They are not only using the Stadler double-decker trains and the Stadler SMILE, but they also have some Chinese trains since a few years, and in the next video we will take a look at one of those Chinese trains. And therefore I have to go to the western station of Vienna, but you can also reach this station from the main station with the tram. Just takes a few minutes longer than from Vienna Meidling. We're now slowly approaching the main station of Vienna, and after around 3.5 hours, a fantastic journey is coming to an end. A very interesting journey. We have seen one of the newest railway lines in Europe, and on the same journey we have also seen the oldest mountain railway in standard gauge in Europe, and all of this in a very nice and comfortable train that I'm leaving here now. And now I'm heading into the main station of Vienna, heading to the tram tracks and taking the tram on to the Westbahnhof. As I said, in the next video we will start there quite early in the morning, and that's why I decided to book a hotel directly at the station. Hotel Motel 1 is right next to the station. Check-in was not the best, but otherwise it's a quite nice and good hotel and in a quite convenient location with beautiful rooms, and of course there are also a lot of restaurants around, so it's the ideal starting point for my next video. Here you can see when this video will be uploaded and the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video then.